When the pyramid was completed, and the king and his 4 high priests entered into the holy chamber, the false Osiris, through his servant god, Egupt, came in spirit form and spoke to the king, saying, "Here am I, O king." Thothma said, "My labor is well recompensed, that you have come to me, O Lord my God, I am blessed." Osiris said, "Keep holy my chambers, suffer no man nor woman nor child that dwells on the face of the earth to know the mysteries of these, my holies, save and accept my adepts. Here lays the key of everlasting life." Thothma said, "How say you the key of everlasting life?" Osiris said, "Herein is that which is of good and evil, as I commanded your forefathers, to eat whereof man shall become as gods and live forever. For this is the triumph of man over death, for which I created him on the earth." Thothma said, "Shall only we 5 know these things?" Osiris said, "No, verily, else the light of my kingdom would not be full. Behold you how I built the temple. Was it not in the keeping of adepts? So then, as I have given to you to know my kingdom, you shall give to others, not suffering these lights to come, save through my commandments." Now in the 2nd month after the temple was completed, Thothma, the king, having put the affairs of his kingdom in order, went into the holy chamber, and thence ascended into the chamber of life and death, leaving the 4 chief priests in the holy chamber. And Thothma cast himself in death, dormancy, by swallowing his tongue. Whereupon the priests closed the entrance and sealed the king within. Osiris, through his angel servants, said to the priests, "One alone shall remain. In quarter watch shall you live within the holy chamber, and I will remain also." And the priests cast lots, and divided the watch in 6 hours each to every day. And Osiris sent his great angel servant, Baal, to the spirit of Thothma, and took him to Arden, the heavenly place of Osiris, showing the spirit the glory of the throne, saying, "Behold the God of gods." Thothma said, "It is a great glory. Lo, mine eyes are blinded by the light of the Lord my God." After this, Baal took the soul of Thothma into 1,000 heavenly places in Osiris's kingdom, and showed him the glory thereof. Thothma said to Baal, "You angel of God, you have shown me of a truth that God is in the image of man, nor is there any but one God who rules over all." Baal said, "How say you then, who is God?" Thothma said, "How say you? For behold, his glory was so great I could not look upon him." Then answered Baal, saying, "Only angels and mortals, these are the sum of all things. He you have looked upon was even as you are, a one-time mortal on a far-off star world. He attained to the Godhead to create a world for himself, even as you, who are an adept, can create flowers and plants and serpents. Thus he came into the void regions of space and created the earth and her heavens, and they belong to him, for they are his. And in like manner is every star world, created and ruled by a god like to your God, who is Lord of all." Thothma said, "Oh, that all people knew these things! Oh, that I may remember them when I am returned to earth." Baal said, "More than this shall you remember, for I will now take you to the hells of the idolaters." Baal then took the soul of Thothma to the hells of Deus, and showed him the horrors thereof. But he took him not to the higher regions of heaven. Now, when Thothma had travelled in heaven for 30 days, Baal brought his spirit back to the chamber of death, and showed him how to regain his corporeal part, the which he did. And then Baal signalled to Egupt, and the latter spoke to the priest on watch, saying, "Behold, Thothma has returned. Go you and fetch your brother, and deliver him into the holy chamber." And when they came, they unloosed the sealing stones and delivered the king into the holy chamber. And he was awake from his trance, and remembered all he had seen in heaven, which he related to the high priests who were with him. And both Baal and Egupt came in spirit form, and talked in the holy chamber with Thothma and the priests. For one day the king remained in the holy chamber, that his spirit be reconciled to the flesh. And on the next day he and the priest came forth out of the temple, and sealed the door thereof, and placed the king's guard in charge, that no man or woman might molest the place. Now Thothma had been in the death trance 40 days. The 3 angels, Egupt, Baal, and Ashtaroth, came into the altar in the king's palace that night, and showed themselves to the college students who had attained adept. Baal spoke orally before them, directing his words to the king, saying, "Behold, I am the angel of God your Lord, whom you have beholden in heaven. I am the same who travelled in heaven with you. What I speak I say in the name of the Lord our God, whose servant I am. On the morrow shall your high priests draw lots, and one of them shall enter the chamber of holies in the Osirian temple, and do even as you have. And after him, behold, another of the high priests shall do likewise, and so on, until the four have had your experience. And it happened that the four priests in turn cast themselves in death, and visited Osiris's heavenly kingdoms, and also many of the hells of Deus, being led in spirit by Baal or Ashtaroth, Egypt being the guardian god of the temple. When they had thus accumulated the same knowledge of heaven and earth, the five of them were of one mind as to attaining life everlasting in the corporeal body. Osiris said, Behold, I will bring many back who are already dead, and they shall call to their embalmed bodies and wake them up and inhabit them. Go you then to the root of the matter and prepare my people, for I will come in person and inhabit the temple you have built, and my heavenly kingdom shall descend even to the earth. Prepare you the column of the stars. Thothma built a column to the east line of the slat, 7 lengths, and the height was 36 lengths. Of wood and stone built he it, with an opening from the bottom to the top, and the width of the opening was 6 lengths. In the walls thereof was a winding stairway, and there were windows looking out to the east and west and north and south, that the stars from every quarter might be observed. On the summit of the column were dwelling places for the seers and mathematicians, with places for the measuring instruments and lenses. When this was completed, Thothma built of wood and stone an external wall across the slat of the temple, and within this wall were stairs also, and these led to the top of the pyramid. This wall was also provided with windows, that the northern stars might be observed. Thothma made an observing column for the sun, and it was provided with lenses of all colours, so that adepts standing at the base of the pyramid could see the sun at every hour of the day and distinguish the spots and their changes. A gayau was set within each of the angles of observation, that the relative position of the sun with northern stars could be determined every day. By these two columns, therefore, Thothma and his mathematicians measured the sun and moon and stars as to the distances and sizes thereof. And Osiris commanded the king to send into the far-off lands of the earth his wisest mathematicians, to observe the winds of heaven and the drought upon the earth, and the abundance of the yield of the earth in different regions, in different years and seasons, and to observe famines and pestilences, and all manner of occurrences on the face of the earth. He said to the king, When your mathematicians are returned to you with their accumulated wisdom, you or your successor shall examine the sun and the stars and moon, as compared to the things whereof the mathematicians shall relate, 1 year with another, and 3 years with another 3 years, and 5 with 5, and 7 with 7, and so on for hundreds of years, and thousands of years. And when you have taken in the term of 3,300 years, and compared the sun and moon and stars, as relate to the occurrences of the earth, you shall have the key of prophecy for 3,300 years ahead. And you shall say of this land and of that land, and of this people and that people, how it will be with them, and you shall not err. Thothma the king called together his mathematicians, and according to their grade, chose from amongst them 1,200. These he divided into groups of 100 each, and he gave them a sufficient number of attendants, and he sent them toward all the sides of the world, allotting to them 16 years each for observation, according to the commandments. And they took with them all kinds of instruments to measure with, besides scribes to make the records of such matters as came before them. And they went throughout Arabinia, and Vindu, India, and Japheth, China, and Persia, and Heleste, Greece, and Europa, Europe, even across to the Western Sea, and to the south extreme of Arabinia, and to the great kingdoms of the interior, and to the north of Heleste and Persia, and Japheth, to the regions of everlasting snow. And in 16 and 17 years they returned, save some who died on the journeys. And most wonderful was the knowledge these mathematicians gained. Thothma received them in great pomp and glory, and awarded all of them with great riches. And Thothma had these things rewritten and condensed into books, and named them Books of Great Learning, and they were deposited within the south chamber of the pyramid, where never harm could come to them. And Thothma made it a law that other mathematicians should travel over the same regions for other 16 years and make like observations, and after them yet other mathematicians to succeed them, and so on for 3,300 years. And accordingly, a new expedition started forth. Now, during the absence of the first mathematicians, Thothma and his philosophers observed the sun and moon and stars every day, and a record was made thereof as to the earth in the regions of Thothma's home kingdom. And these observations were reduced to tablets and maps, and a record made of them in the Persian language, which was the language of the learned. For the Egyptian language of that day was spoken mostly by the unlearned, and was mixed with the Phoenician, a language of sounds. After the mathematicians returned, Thothma and his philosophers examined the whole matter as compared with the maps and tablets of the heavens, and the facts deduced therefrom were written in a separate book and called the Philosophies of God and his son Thothma, king of earth. Copies of this book were made and sent into the lands of Arabinia, Vindhya, Japheth and Persia and Helest and Europa to the priests of God, but the original book was filed in the holy chamber in the temple of Osiris.